Good evening, I'm Shane Jones. Leading the news at 7. Former Prime Minister Frendel Stewart is partly responsible for a major breakdown in the progress of CARICOM. This assertion from newly appointed Ambassador David Commissiong. He's describing the presence of Prime Minister Mia Motley at last week's Heads of Government conference as a breath of fresh air.
There was a deep sense of frustration from regional leaders and diplomatic staff during last week's CARICOM Heads of Government meeting in Montego Bay, Jamaica. This from Ambassador Commissiong, who says for over 10 years, very little was accomplished by the regional grouping. To make matters worse, Barbados, the country with lead responsibility for the CARICOM single market and economy, had all but abandoned its responsibilities.
Stewart told his regional peers that he was putting the CSME on pause. On pause. So what was said openly at the meeting is that we didn't just go on pause, but that when you go on pause, you are actually going backwards. So Ms. Motley went to the Heads of Government Summit in 2018 and found on the agenda items that she had been dealing with before she left office in 2007, still unattended to.
The newly appointed ambassador says Prime Minister Mia Motley was elected just in time.
The lack of leadership that Barbados had given over 10 years had been continuing now, I would have very, very bleak, I think CARICOM would have very bleak prospects. But she came like a breath of fresh air. She was commanding, she was positive, she was encouraging, she presented a vision for the development of CARICOM. What she did that was so impressive is that she looked at CARICOM from the perspective of the young people of this region.
Mr. Commissiong credits Ms. Motley's leadership at the conference with the making of numerous major decisions. These include the joint agreement by heads to fully implement the free movement of skilled workers, as well as a decision that they meet every 3 months to discuss the way forward for the CSME. Kareem Smith, CBC News.
Thanks, Kareem. Concern from the chairman of the Intimate Hotels of Barbados that not enough attention is being paid to disaster preparedness. Omar Alahar made this observation at the group's annual general meeting at the Lloyd Erskine Sandiford Center. He encouraged members to insure their businesses as a way to mitigate against the very real risk of a disaster.
All through the Caribbean this year, after the hurricanes of last season, and I was in Dominica up to 2 weeks ago, 50% of the roofs in Dominica are still not on. And I stayed in a hotel with no windows and no ceilings. And if Barbados is to recover from our current economic challenges, and the tourism industry is going to be the answer, then the biggest risk to that recovery is going to be disaster hitting Barbados and the time it takes to recover from that sort of thing.
The Minister of Health and Wellness, Lieutenant Colonel Jeffrey Bostic, is moving to address concerns of city residents with respect to the old Ministry of Health complex on Gemmetts Lane. The facility has been a bone of contention for residents following recent fires. The latest in May destroyed the building that previously housed the emergency ambulance service. Minister Bostic says he will be seeking a meeting with the Minister of Housing to discuss the future of the old complex.
They're really on the property to see what is going to be the plan going forward for those structures. But until that meeting is held, I won't be able to say to you definitively what is going to happen, but I do acknowledge that there are concerns and creditable concerns, and we have to address those concerns for the people who live in the surrounding areas in particular.
New Zealand's High Commissioner to Barbados, Jan Henderson, has ended what's been described as a very productive tour to Barbados and the region. As Lisa Broom tells us, she said her goodbyes during a special function this week.
It's the end of Jan Henderson's 4-year tour of duty as New Zealand's High Commissioner to Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean. But that was not the only distinction to this particular stint, as Mrs. Henderson informed the many guests who joined her and her family at their Sugar Hill St. James residence for a farewell reception. She boasted the distinction of being given the task of setting up the first New Zealand High Commission in the Eastern Caribbean.
It was a wonderful opportunity to start a project from scratch, to build a team and a profile on behalf of my country and my government. 4 full years of challenge, hard work, occasional frustration, real professional highs, and above all, lots of laughter and fun.
Noting that she's proud of what they've achieved, High Commissioner Henderson outlined some of the projects in which they took part over the years, including an alliance with the Ministry of Agriculture and ICA, as well as a women's initiative.
But it was not all highs. It was heartbreaking to see the devastation caused by Hurricanes Maria and Irma in the Caribbean last September. But I am delighted that New Zealand is helping Dominica rebuild by supporting their first geothermal development. This one small 7-megawatt geothermal plant will provide half of Dominica's electricity needs.
Minister in the Ministry of Foreign Trade, Sandra Husbands, thanked the outgoing High Commissioner for the assistance provided, especially in agriculture.
From your work with the Greenland Livestock Centre, working with CARDI and the Ministry of Agriculture to improve our agricultural activities in Barbados through workshops and other forms of training, to your work with the Royal Commonwealth Society and our school children, to seek to generate greater interest in careers in agriculture through a cooking competition. The contributions you have made to our country have been invaluable.
She also praised Mrs. Henderson for the work they've done in oceans and fisheries, climate change, disaster management and renewable energy, adding there's scope for even closer collaboration in these areas. Lisa Broom, CBC News.
The stage is set and the positions have been drawn for the Scotiabank Junior Calypso Monarch in association with IGM Stage Lighting Finals. The 16 finalists from the 2 categories made the draw this morning at Scotiabank's Sky Mall branch in Haggett Hall. It was more than just a draw, as there was also a mini concert right outside of the branch, where last year's 7 to 12 Monarch Miss Kibaba rendered her 2018 offering, Song for the Children. The reigning 13 to 18 Monarch Sparkle T has now outgrown the competition, and she performed her 2017 crowning song, This Golden Chain. Parents and contestants anxiously awaited the draw, and then it was time. In the 7 to 12 category, KCB will be first out of the blocks, then Brown Star at number 2, followed by Master Key at 3, Sakara at number 4, Star Diamond will be on stage at position number 5, Joshua B 6, Just Carry 7, and the Mighty Bit Bit will bring down the curtain on the 7 to 12 category. In the seniors, the 13 to 18s, first-time finalist and one of the major crowd favorites, Kwan, will get the party started at position number 1. The overcomer is number 2. Princess Makita slips in at 3, Yahanji 4, former Monarch Dynamo at number 5, Simar 6, Miracle 7, and Renan will close out the show. After being the runner-up in 2016 with Calypso Queen, Star Diamond took a year off. Now she's back and plans to put down a top performance of BIM Tomorrow, written by Terry Williams-Niles on finals night.
The last time I sang Calypso Queen, it was a more hype, exciting song. So finals, I'm really trying to slow it down and let the song speak for itself and really get into the song and feel emotional and let the audience feel the emotion with me also.
Sakara is another finalist in the 7 to 12 category. This first-timer will be singing Color My Barbados.
My song is basically about using colors to talk about like the crime and violence that's happening in Barbados and all of the other bad things. And it's end about the solution, like what I want to see when I color in the third verse. That's basically about my song.
What can we expect from you in the finals?
Well, you can expect a very good performance and a fun time I'll have on stage.
At the end of the 2017 13-18 competition, the overcomer was placed at number 2, and he's drawn number 2 for this final. His song is Bon Appetit.
It is about dinner in France at this Caribbean restaurant, and you know, I was excited. There was a main course on it called Les Barbades, which is French for Barbados, and I asked the waiter what was in the recipe, and when he started to recite the recipe, I really didn't like it. It was, you know, few pounds of gang wars and some stuff, and I didn't like it, so I felt like I needed to change the recipe and add some stuff I feel like we need in the country.
After 6 years of not making it past the preliminary stage, Kwan is in the final, and he's a strong contender for the title with the popular Why I Sing.
Well, the song's about my journey basically through Calypso, how for 6 years I've been trying to get past the preliminary stage, and people will be telling me, you know, why don't you stop singing, man? You're wasting your time. But for me, it was not about really getting past preliminary. It was about my message through song, and that's the reason I continue to sing each year. Okay, so first time in the finals and you've drawn number 1. How do you feel about that? Well, I really don't mind the number. I think that my execution will be on point, and I will gonna do what I have to do. So what can we expect from you? Anything letting out the bike? Well, you can expect loads of confidence. A brilliant performance will be going down, and yeah, come and see what's in store.
The Scotiabank Junior Monarch Finals will be held on July 21st at the Garfield Sobers Gymnasium. If the launch of the Republic Bank Grand Kadooment in association with MQI is anything to go by, Jump Up Day is definitely going to be massive. It was a carnival-like atmosphere in the city of Bridgetown as title sponsors Republic Bank presented a check worth $85,000 to officials of the National Cultural Foundation. Grand Kadooment 2018 was foreshadowed by a mini street parade with costumed dancers and the sweet sounds of the tuck band. Administration Manager at the NCF, Wayne Webster, says with thousands of eyes on the island, Grand Kadooment remains the greatest opportunity to showcase Barbados to the world.
To sell this beautiful country under the theme of making memories, and that is exactly what we do at this time of the year. The story of Republic Bank Grand Kadooment is not just about its beauty, but about the fact that it continues to provide a platform for the development of our cultural industries. It is a story of growth in all the associated art forms, from music to costumery to culinary to craft.
Mr. Webster adds Barbadians should never forget the crucial role Grand Kadooment has played in shaping the cultural identity of the island.
Fostering a move to an abandonment of cultural decolonization, the creation of something spiced and favored to our own specifications, cultivating something all our own, a unique Bajan mass. There are those who would try to link its progress to the ebbs and flow in numbers. But in any given year, there will always be a fluctuation in the complement of bands for whatever reason. A greater interest, withdrawal due to financial constraints, merger between bands, you name it. What will always be important, though, is the impact of this Republic Bank Grand Kadooment product on our commercial and cultural heritage.
Republic Bank has signed off on another 3-year partnership with the NCF for Grand Kadooment, and General Manager of Retail Banking Sharon Zephyrin is sure the festival will be fantastic.
Crop Over has been tagged the sweetest summer festival of all times, and the theme this year's festival, Making Memories, is very applicable as participants in the festivities will make lots of beautiful memories because, as the old adage says, memories don't leave like people do. They always stay with you.
Kadooment Day is August 6th. Barbadians are being told to come out and support one of the staple events of the Crop Over Festival. It's the Evening of Folk, which will come off on July 26 at the Frank Collymore Hall. Producer Aisha Gibson-Gill says they are tasked with commemorating the day of significance every year. She says this year they will be bringing dance and theater and play under the theme, What's Good for the Goose.
They're going to bring you, I don't want to say down, they're going to focus in on the story of individual people who are affected in their jobs, in their livelihood, in their social connections to other people, how the conditions of the 30s affected them and made them do whatever they thought they needed to do to make a better life for themselves, as you can hear. And that's what the evening is about. It's to get you there emotionally and to transfer you emotionally with the movement. And we really hope that people will come out.
She was speaking during a rehearsal for the event at the Queen's Park Steel Shed last night. One of the title sponsors is the City of Bridgetown Cooperative Credit Union Limited. Vice President Adlai Stevenson says as a community-based credit union, they have a responsibility to support Crop Over.
We at City of Bridgetown believe that the creative element within Barbados needs to be encouraged, and we are certainly going to do our part to support Crop Over in general. We have in excess of 60,000 members, and I would encourage all Barbadians to come out and give your support to this particular event.
It's being described as an enjoyable combination of fun, fitness, and education. Flag Nation is a new joint cultural program endorsed by the National Cultural Foundation that's seeking to pass on the knowledge and skill to young people and adults alike. Here's Ryan Broom.
Flag Nation is the brainchild of Belle Holder. Speaking to CBC News on the sidelines of one of the weekly workshops at the National Cultural Foundation for 5 to 16-year-olds, she gave an overview of its origins.
Flag Nation is a brand new cultural initiative. What's amazing to me is that so many people don't know that the Flag Person of the Year Award is called the Winston Jordan Flag Person of the Year Award. And we really consider Winston Jordan, the late Winston Jordan, the originator. I don't know how many people would be aware of what Winston was able to do. He would take his band through the National Stadium himself, dress colorfully, and really putting that energy behind the flag. And so, you know, the initiative of being a flag person has continued, but then somebody like Didi Winston came along and took it to a whole other level.
According to Bell, it is therefore no surprise that the person who won Flag Person of the Year a record 20 times would be the best choice to be instructor for Flag Nation, which provides separate sessions for children and adults.
Didi and I really got to know each other over the last 2 years working on CBC's Out Loud, and I kept pushing and saying, you need to do this. You need to pass on this art form, and you need to teach it so that so it doesn't die and we can carry it forward. And so we really just teamed up on that, and I approached the National Cultural Foundation, and I really have to say thank you so much to the National Cultural Foundation, and specifically the dance officer Alicia Payne-Hurley, who has a shared vision and completely support us. So the National Cultural Foundation with us endorsed us nationally and partnered with us and to enter Flag Nation.
And the 20-time Flag Person of the Year weighed in on the significance of participating in the initiative.
I feel honored. I feel awesome. I feel amazing that kids are ready and taking it in. And there are some of them who genuinely have it, they don't know it. And it feels good to see that I would be sitting home a few years from now watching one of these kids, or any kid or anybody, in front of a band doing what I did and going like, yeah, I helped keep that there.
Meanwhile, Bell says the feedback has so far been positive.
Believe it or not, we had not had one negative. And let me tell you why. It's because I approach anything to do with children, I always approach it as a parent first. And so with the Flag Nation Junior workshops, you will notice that the theme, Walk It and Wave It, does not apply to the children whatsoever. It's a workshop. And so even with the children, we were sensitive to the type of music that the children would be flag waving to. And I have to give kudos to DJ Timeless of CBC's 98.1, the one who did a music mix for us so that we don't have to worry about overt lyrics, the children being exposed to that. We thought of all of that to make sure that the children are protected and respected.
And 12-year-old Sharita Fort says she has learned a lot and has been thoroughly enjoying the workshops.
I think it is important to be a part of this class because you can lose weight, have fun, and enjoy yourself.
Now, as part of the overall activities of the group, Flag Nation will also be participating in this year's Junior Kadooment festivities. Ryan Broom, CBC News.
Barbadians will get the chance to see the best of young local and international talent when the Livy and Betty Aline Ballroom Center presents Legends of the Dance Floor Ballroom and Latin Competition. The show is set for this Saturday at 5 p.m. and one of the dancers, Barbadian Shane Aline, says it's going to be highly competitive.
It's just going to be straight off a competitive dance situation. So there'll be over 100 dancers and they'll be all separated in different categories. So from juveniles, juniors, adults and masters, and they'll all be separated into beginners, novice, intermediate and advanced. So you get people that just started dancing compared to people who've been dancing.
Polish contestant Aleksandra Piszbalak is excited about the categories.
We're gonna dance ballroom dances like waltz, Venus waltz, tango, quickstep, and then Latin dances like samba, cha-cha, jive, rumba, paso doble.
Barbados and the region may have to relook existing savings clauses in their constitutions which support colonial laws, immune from legal challenge. Dean in the Faculty of Law at the University of the West Indies at Cave Hill, Dr. David Berry, says the Inter-American Court has in the past called on countries to get rid of the clause. Savings clauses are common features of the constitutions of former British colonies. They were included at independence to provide continuity of the law during a transition period.
That is a colonial issue that is still with us today. So we have some laws that are far predate independence, that are on our books and cannot be challenged by our Bill of Rights. But other areas, I mean, Dominica, Guyana, Belize have very strong indigenous populations. They have been challenging the legal systems and the decisions of governments, their own governments, using various legal structures, including the Inter-American System of Human Rights. And Guyana has been very successful, the Guyanese indigenous peoples. And one of our former students was the chief of one of the Mayan groups that brought the case. So we were very excited to have him here in the faculty learning laws. So there are many issues still outstanding that have to be addressed in our region.
Dr. Berry was speaking on the sidelines of a legal history conference jointly organized by the Faculties of Law and Humanity and Education. He says the conference combines historians and lawyers.
So you'll find equal composition of both and conversations crossing both disciplines, which is exciting. We're looking at history of empires, and we're looking at the various empires that have shaped the Caribbean. So we're looking at Spanish, French, Portuguese, Danish, American, English, of course, and we're looking from the perspective, which is unique to this conference, from the colonized. So the people who were subjected to colonial laws, what was their view, how did they react to it? And interestingly, a lot of the panels are looking at ways that the colonized challenged the legal systems and challenged the dominance of the empires using law.
In Ghana, a private chartered aircraft which arrived at the Chedijagan International Airport on Monday has been detained by police. Lawmen suspect that the plane has a false registration number and false documents. According to police reports, the aircraft landed shortly after 3 in the afternoon, and when customs and security officials carried out inspections, several irregularities were found. Based on inquiries, it was revealed that the pilots and passengers were invited to Ghana by a man identified as Michael Brassington, who was at the airport to receive them. It was found that Brassington had served time in the United States on several charges, including the breaking of U.S. aviation rules. Investigators say they plan to question Brassington about the plane. The leader of the opposition, Philip J. Pierre, has met with advocates for the decriminalization of marijuana in St. Lucia. The opposition leader has outlined the Labour Party's position on the decriminalization of the drug. We get more in this report from HTS News Force.
The meeting's purpose was to allow party members to receive information and opinions on the latest developments regionally and internationally on the move to make more effective use of the cannabis plant, decriminalization of the use of the plant, and research into its medicinal value. The meeting was described by the opposition as a cordial and interactive one, and Cannabis Movement Secretary Aaron Alexander agrees.
Diverse views, etc., were shared, and everybody at the end of the night, everybody really, got a gist and got a clearer understanding of the whole question of legalization and also decriminalization. And the cannabis movement on our part, we were very thankful to have that meeting.
However, something's missing, says the Cannabis Movement's secretary.
We are yet to see now the government of the day in the person of the Honorable Prime Minister Alan Shasney, whether he's going to meet with the cannabis movement. We know that he has stated he was waiting to hear the CARICOM report, and now CARICOM has reported, and the recommendation strongly is towards decriminalization. So we are waiting to see what the next move will be on the part of the government, because the opposition are very much on board, and through their progressive platform they are endorsing this initiative for the decriminalization of cannabis. So I'm looking forward to the government position now for the Prime Minister to make a clear and decisive statement, because at this point it seems like, it's just pussyfooting. So I want to see what really coming out of the government of the day right now.
Well, a peek into the world of sports is up next, but before we get there, here's a tip from Cooperators General Insurance.
This tip of the day is brought to you by Cooperators General Insurance Company Limited. Insurance the way you want it to be.
Before the arrival of a hurricane, ensure that you have a working radio, flashlight, and a stock of appropriate batteries. Cooperators General Insurance, helping you to be prepared this hurricane season.